Welcome, everybody. For those of you who don't know, my name is Cathi Nelson. I'm the CEO and founder of the Photo Managers. And I need to look back to see how many years we've been doing this now, career advice from a pro. But every month for at least 2 or 3 years now, I interview different members from our community. I ask the same 5 questions, but it's fascinating. And they are all now on our YouTube channel. So you can watch these and go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which has been growing. But it's been a great way for those that are originally thought of it as a way to help people who are thinking about doing this as a business to learn about the different things about a business. But many of our members love to join as well to support photo managers and learn from them. So we have usually a good combination. So I'm thrilled to introduce you to Andi Willis. She is one of those longtime members, and she'll tell you in a minute her background. But Andi, I think I've known you almost as long as the photo managers, right? What year did you join the photo managers? Oh, I think you're on mute. We got to unmute you. I don't know how that happened. You weren't on mute a minute ago.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? You can hear me now. Okay. I don't know what happened there. I think I joined in 2012. I meant to look it up this morning, but I had to go pick my husband up at the airport instead. So
I would think it's definitely, if it wasn't, 2011 would have been the earliest you could have joined.
Yeah. So then it was 2012 and I met you at a NAPO convention.
Oh, which one?
Do
you remember where we were?
Oh gosh, where were we?
Was it
I know the second year I met you, we were in Baltimore. So it was wherever we were the year before Baltimore.
That was in California. So that goes
with San Diego.
San Diego.
It was San Diego. Yeah, it was San Diego.
Gosh, that's amazing. I didn't realize that. That's amazing. So there you go. So sometimes we get to have these opportunities to reconnect with members. We've interviewed new members, couples, people that are, to do different things, different parts of the world. But so here's Andi, a longtime member of the Photo Manager. So Andi, tell us about your business a little bit. Obviously, you were a residential organizer when we first met, and where you're from, and what drew you to this business in the first place?
Well, my name's Andi Willis. My business is Good Life Photo Solutions. I am currently located and will forever, ever be located in Smithfield, Virginia, Southeast Virginia. We can talk about that later. This is actually where I grew up. I grew up in Southeast Virginia, about 45 minutes from where I live now. So I'm a Virginia girl by heart, born in Michigan. So I got a little bit of love for that too. I started my business in 2010, like Cathi said, as a residential organizer. At that point, my business was called Good Life Organizing. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. It's been a while. And I started doing residential organizing because I loved decluttering. I loved putting order to things. I was really into, at that point, that was when all those TV shows were on before Hoarders, like Clean Sweep and things like that. And I learned that that was actually a thing. It was actually a career. And so I started my own business. I was looking for something that gave me some more freedom. My kids were small, but they were both starting school. And I wanted the freedom to be able to do things with them at school and, still be able to feel like I had some purpose outside the house. And then in, I guess, 2012, I met Cathi at a NAPO conference, which, if you don't know, it used to be the National Association of Professional Organizers. Now it's a slightly different name. But and I went, wait a minute. I know people will pay me to organize their closets, but somebody's going to pay me to organize their photos. And I went, wow. Because I've always been the person in my family for my generation who's been the historian, who's been the keepers of the pictures. I'm the one that all my cousins come to when they want to know, when was Aunt Helen born and where did she go to college? I know all that information, or at least I have it. So it's it just felt right to add that as a service for what I had. So I did. And as time went on and on, I added more and more. And in most cases, it was a secondary service to a client I already had. We'd be in a closet and I'm like, oh, look, all your photos. Would you like to have them scanned? And, that become another offering. And then I realized I was really, around 2016, 2017, I was really tired of being in people's underwear drawers. I always prided myself on being non-judgmental, and I was starting to think bad things in my head about my clients, and I didn't want to do that. And I loved the photos. So in 2018, I rebranded my business to Good Life Photo Solutions. rebranding your business is not for the faint of heart, nor is moving your business, which we're going to get to. And so I started doing only photos, anything photo related, memory related. And I've been doing it ever since. Every year, my business has grown, my income has grown, my reach has grown, and I love it. And I think it was a really good choice for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I love, one good thing from your story too is just a career trajectory, right? You started because I've watched you on, I guess, because we feel like we know people's life journeys on Facebook or different things. I've watched your kids go from little to high school, I think to college to graduate. They're both out,
Out
right?
of college, one of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've seen that. And right, so it's a career that has transitioned with you, including two moves. So I just thought that was unique to talk about that because so Andi has actually had a mover business not once but twice. So you want to talk a little bit about what that
Yeah,
experience is?
cross country twice in 3 years.
Yeah.
My we knew for a while. So when I started the business, I was in Central Georgia, in a little town called Perry, about an hour and 45 minutes south of Atlanta, and it was great. And then we knew my husband's job was probably going to change, and he took a job with a company that was wanted him to move to Texas, and so he commuted for a while. And then when our son graduated high school, because I said, I'm not moving him. He's always been in the school system. I'm not moving him his senior year. And so he and I stayed until he finished high school and then moved him into college. And within a month, we had moved to Fort Worth, Texas. We were there for about a year and a half, and the job that my husband took, the company he worked for kind of imploded, and he got out before the implosion happened. And the job that he took allowed us to, he was either going to be traveling or working at home, so we could live wherever we wanted. And we're now both in our 50s and thinking about retirement, thinking about family, and said, you know what? We really want to get back on the East Coast because that's where all of our family is. And then we thought, hey, it actually would be nice to move home. So 2.5 years after we moved to Fort Worth, Texas, we've now moved to Southeast Virginia. And we live within an hour of every single immediate family member except for our son, who's still in Atlanta.
Wow, that's amazing. And how was it? What was the experience like moving a business? Did you get new customers in Fort Worth as well, or did you
I
bring your?
did. I did. And I still have clients. One of the things that I did a long time ago was sit down and really think about, because I knew in the back of my head for many, many years that moving was a possibility, probability. And I thought, how can I make this business not dependent on people that I can drive to and get their photos? Like, how do I make my business essentially worldwide so it doesn't matter where I live? And I have done a really good job of that. I have several longstanding clients still in Georgia that I still work with. Like, we had already scanned all their pictures and organized them. I manage their digital pictures every month. Um, but I have a client I've been working with now for, gosh, going on at least 8 years. And we just did her son's wedding. So we did a book and a slideshow. Her daughter's getting married in May, and we're doing a book and a slideshow and Christmas presents. And so that has carried on. So that's the kind of stuff. It doesn't matter where I live. And then I do a lot of remote organizing for people. Either they send me their things. I have somebody who sends me their scrapbook pages, and we're scanning them and making them into photo books. And I send them back. And she lives back in Georgia, but she wasn't a Georgia client when I was in Georgia. In Texas, I was very fortunate, and I got some press on the TV, and it basically booked my calendar for the rest of the time I was there. And I'm still working with some of those clients. I again got everything physical done, got it back to them, and we're still working through the digital component. So being able to sort of take my clients with me. I mean, I had a client that I've had clients I've never met. I've never seen their faces. I had a client that was in Japan for 2 years, and I worked on her photos every month. And so
Yeah.
that part was great. it's the logistics behind the scene that's a pain in the butt. It's trying to figure out now how do I restart the business? What are the logistics with the state, with the county, with the city I live in? Can I run my business out of my house? Which was a thing when I moved here and I didn't know it. But it's okay. We worked through all that, but it's kind of a pain. I had to give myself grace to settle in, um, you know, just figure out what everything was. I'm still working with the clients, but giving myself time to acclimate in both places. And
Yeah.
here it's hard in Virginia because all I want to do is go see my family and go see friends because I have high school friends that live, 20 minutes away. And, it's hard to just drop everything and go have fun, which is actually what I'm doing tomorrow. But that's another story. So
When you work for yourself, you get the privilege of making those decisions, right? Uh,
absolutely.
well, what's
Absolutely.
interesting, what you're saying too about those repeat customers, which I think we did a survey this past year that we just published, and I've gone through it through some webinars and things like that. But one of the statistics that came out, which I wasn't surprised, but it was nice to see, it was that our members report 80% repeat customers.
Mhm,
And I think
mhm.
that's a unique piece of being a photo manager, right? Because
Right,
people keep taking photos and life keeps happening. So
right.
it's different than a lot of businesses where you have to, when you've been doing as long as you have, Andy, right? You have, like you mentioned, these clients that are now another person's going to get married, or you do
Mhm,
and then I loved also, I want you to talk a little bit about, and then I'll ask our normal 5 questions, but uh, you talk about your do digital maintenance, right? You have clients where you go through their photos monthly. Do you call it
mhm.
like a digital, what do you log into to their iPhone or Apple library or
Most of them are Apple Photos clients, so I have them set up as users on my computer, and I log in once a month, get everything synced. So I have a copy of their library just in case something happens. Depending on the client, it's keywording, facial recognition, getting rid of junk. Some clients say delete things, and other ones are like just put it in a folder. I'll look at it. Um, Yeah, so that's a nice little that if even if I do nothing else, I have those 6 or 7, and I've had a couple that have transitioned to more quarterly just because they don't take that many pictures. It doesn't make that much sense, to do it monthly. But it's nice to know that if everything fell apart, I have those people that are still there.
a nice
But
res-
several of them have told me, "It's like, I'm never you're never leaving me, right?" And I'm like,
right.
"Okay, that sounds good to me."
It's something you can do into retirement. It could be, this for many people, this is a retirement
Right,
side gig, right? Of income.
right.
So what I love to ask people these 2 questions is the first one is, what is it that you love most about your job? And then I'm going to ask you, what is it that you like least, or what's the most challenging? But let's start with what you love most.
I think what I love the most about my job is the connection that I make with my clients,
Mm.
especially these long-term clients that I really get to know their families. And even if it's not a super long term, if I'm doing their entire collection, I love big collections. I love lifetime collections, big complex projects. I get to see from when they met their husband to when they got married to when they were pregnant and they had their kids. I've watched their kids grown up. And I say, like, I could run into your child in Target and go up and want to give them a hug, say, "Congratulations on graduating college last month." And they're going to go, "Who the heck are you, lady?" But I feel like I know them. I feel like they're my own kids. And so I love that getting to know them, getting to know their stories. Um, and I really have kind of experienced the highs and lows. Like I've been in somebody's library and they haven't told me their father just passed. And I
Mhm.
see it in the pictures. I knew he was ill, and then all of a sudden I could tell there's been a funeral. So, it's a privilege to be inside people's lives like that. And I really truly appreciate the trust that my clients given me. That
Yeah.
always blows my mind when I have a brand new client. And they're like, "Well, here's my password, and here's this," and I'm like, have you? I'm glad you trust me, but it just seems a little weird. Um, but that's my, then I also say the one thing I really love the most is I love making my clients cry. I love it when I make my clients cry.
Right.
I was very privileged recently to do a memorial slideshow for a friend. And when you do something like that, you don't always get to see, I mean, like you see the end product, but you
Mhm.
don't see it in in situ, you know, it being used unless you get invited to the service or something. And it was a very interesting service. And instead of doing canned music, the granddaughter sang to the slideshow. And so my friend videotaped it and sent it to me. And it made me cry. And I, I don't, I've never met her daughter. I never had the privilege of meeting her mother. I did meet obviously my friend. Um, and that, you know, and she said that it was just fabulous and everybody loved it. And being able to connect that emotion with my clients is really something I like doing.
Yeah. I mean, I can feel it just emanating from the, I'm sure they feel that when they work with you. I can feel it just in your describing, you can feel that passion coming through right through the screen. How
Mhm.
about what is one of the things that you find most challenging and that you don't like? Because just because we have to, it has to, there's always things we love and things we
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. I think you know, for pretty much all, oh my gosh, am I going on almost 15 years? I've basically been a solopreneur. I've been a one person operation. I have had some assistants here and there. Um, but learning to delegate, and what can I delegate? What can I outsource?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so giving up that control is has been difficult. Um, a few years ago, and finding the right person to do that with, you know, because you can't just turn things over to just anybody. So a few years ago, I made the step to get an outside bookkeeper instead of doing my own books. And that that was a process. It took me a couple starts to find the right person, and I've got that. So that's offloaded. About a year ago, I hired a VA who does all my social media for me. As you know, Cathi, I've always been social media has always been a very big part of my platform and what I do, um, both for promotional purposes, but also for educational purposes for people who might not be in the market to hire me or who aren't ready to hire me, that they can learn more about how to do things on their own. So I hired a VA who takes my ideas and brings them to life, and we work very closely together. And so that's been a nice offboarding of things to sort of be able to get some more space in my head. Trying to find in-office help has been a little hard. Um, yeah, it's just been a little hard trying to find the right person. I did have my son working for me remotely for a while, but now he's back full time in school, so that isn't happening right now. So, but at the moment, I don't necessarily need anybody. I'm thinking after the first of the year, I'm going to start looking for someone who can come and help. So, being able to give up that control to delegate is probably one of my biggest things that I have struggled with.
It is hard, isn't it? Yep, that's a great insight. And then also that growth process though of knowing that you have to continue to grow and probably be totally available to your clients. Some of those things you have to outsource from that you can't keep doing it all, especially at this stage in your business, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that makes sense. This question is like, well, how did you find your first client? I don't know if you can remember that, but it's funny when you said I live in this little tiny, town, small town, an hour and a
Yeah.
half from Atlanta at Club Perry. Like, doesn't you made it sound like it's not a big town. How do you remember how you found your first clients?
Well, my first organizing client was somebody in my neighborhood. I sent out flyers to my neighbors and said, "Hey, I'm starting this business," and I'm sure I put it on Facebook and that kind of stuff. My first photo client was a residential client that we had already. Well, no, let me. I take that back. I take that back. I put a press release in the newspaper about my new business, and this was a couple years in, and or maybe it was when I got certified. I wish I had thought about this a little bit more. When I got certified with then APO, I put something in the business section of our newspaper, and somebody called me from that.
Yep. It's amazing how it's very grassroots, right? Even now, how about
Mhm.
now if you're looking for now that you move back to, I don't know if you're still looking for new clients in your
Yeah.
area you're in, what are you doing? Like, how would you approach that now?
Well, quite honestly, I haven't done anything yet because I'm still trying to, I'm trying to get some of these Texas projects off my table. They just seem to be taking forever, but I actually need to stay home and work on them to get them done. Um, I'm getting ready to do some press releases to try to contact local TV stations, newspapers, those little glossy magazines that every little community seems to have. That'll be one way. And I just, again, I'm very active on social media. So I make sure that my business page is going all the time and I'm sharing things on my personal page. And now that I'm home, I've had a lot of old friends come and say, "Oh, well, now that you're back,
I bet.
let's talk."
Yeah.
So it's a lot of word of mouth.
Yeah.
But I will say, Cathi, that at this point, having a really good website, having a really good social media presence, my SEO is, quite honestly, without really trying, has sends me so much information. I get so many inquiries off of Google now, which
Yeah.
always, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'll get some from photo managers and some from Google, and then personal referrals.
Right. Yeah. So in the world, I mean, I think when we first started, people say you do what? We still get a little of that, I know, but not near as much as we do. Now it's like everybody says, I need you, right? In the beginning,
Right.
50 years ago, it was still a lot of like head scratching and how could you do that? But now it's definitely, even when I tell people, people say, oh my God, that's brilliant. What a great idea. Of course, there's somebody who needs to do that. Because
Right.
nobody's now under the myth that they've got this figured out. Because it's
Right.
all,
Absolutely.
yeah. Um, and so what advice would you give to somebody that's here on this call that are just thinking about getting started? What would you did some great idea too about social media and a website, but if you're just getting started as well, what would you recommend?
A couple things. One is when I went to start my business and I talked to my husband about it, and I said, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? He goes, great idea. Just do it right.
Mhm.
By which he meant have a business checking account.
Mhm.
Do your due diligence and figure out what kind of business license you need. Yes, that all costs money at the beginning, but it makes you legitimate.
Mhm.
Pay for a URL. They're cheap and you can get email through it. So you're not using a Gmail account. Um, things like that, that really find out if you have to charge sales tax. So figure out that part. It's overwhelming. And you might think, well, I'll get the business started and then I'll go back to it. But it's harder after the fact to redo everything.
Yeah.
I found that out when I just rebranding, where I wasn't starting a new business, but I was changing it. And how do I deal with the federal government and how do I deal with the state government? What do so going maybe to like a local branch of the small business association, or there's other places like that that can give information. And the other thing that I did when I started, I did not do when I started, but I started working with a business coach a couple years in, is realize I had to pay myself every single month.
Yeah.
None of this, it's all going to go in my bank account. And when I need money, I'm going to take money out, because then, at least to me, it doesn't feel like a job, right? Because I'm not getting. And so what I decided to do, the coach was like, I don't care how much you pay yourself $30 a month, just pay
Mhm.
yourself something. So I took a percentage and I said, okay, every month I'm going to pay myself 30% of what I bring in. Everything else will go to overhead and training and whatever else I need. And I pretty much still do that.
Wow.
I'm taking owner's draws now. I know how to do it better, but the amounts are much, much bigger. And I up the percentage, and I'm still covering all of my costs and pretty much anything I want to do, but I'm paying myself more. And it's, I think what was it Profit First, the book, I know a lot of our members kind of go by that. And one of the concepts is pay yourself first.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and
Take it seriously. I love that your husband said that. What he meant, right? Yeah, is take it. I think I did that early on even as well. Like take it seriously. It's not like a little hobby or something like
yeah,
that. If your goal is to to be doing it for 15 years from now where you're able to go away on a weekend, do
right,
whatever, and take that time to build that process.
right. Yeah. And the other thing I would say is to just trust yourself, because if you got into this because you love photos, you love the digital part, or maybe you love making photo books or whatever. And this was something I had to be kind of had it smacked into my head at the beginning is you know more than your clients do. Even if it's just a little bit. That's all you got to know is a little bit more. And having an organization like the photo managers where I can say, I don't know that, but I know somebody who does. You know, if I have an Apple question I can't figure out, and I'm pretty good at Apple, I can call Paul Einerson. You know, if I have a technical problem, I can call Susan Wallach. You know, I have the people that I can call. And just you know more than other people do, and that makes you worthy of having a business and doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
And you make it your own. Because I'm a generalist. I like photos. I like print and digital. I do photo books, I do slideshows, I do video conversions. I don't do every little piece of all of those, but I do. I get bored if I do the same thing all the time. um so whether you niche down or you niche out, whatever feels good to you, do that, because it's your business and you can do it however you want to do it. And you can say, I only make I think we have a member that only makes photo books of pets in
Yes.
the city. And that is how niched she's gone. And other people have gone, well, I started here, but I'm going to add this, I'm going to add this and add this. And that's the great thing about being an entrepreneur. It's your business. Make it however you want it to be.
Right. And if you change your mind partway through, it's okay to make it
Yeah.
make a
Yeah.
pivot, right? You get to make those decisions, to make those pivots. And
Right. Right.
yeah. And so my last question is how, you started mentioning being a member of the photo managers, but I think, have you come to every conference or almost, I mean, you've got to be up there in the,
Almost every. I did not come last year because I was moving.
okay.
I had a feeling something was going to happen, and I actually changed to virtual at the last minute before everything, before the first of the year. And sure enough, I was moving the week of conference. I've been to, that might have been the only one I've missed so far.
Yeah. I feel like,
I started in Cleveland.
okay. So
Yeah. Yeah.
years, I know we're coming up on our San Diego is our 13th
Yeah.
conference.
I did not go to the first one in Orlando and Chicago, I think.
Right.
Wasn't there one in Chicago early on?
First Chicago, Dallas, Orlando. Anyway, but
Okay,
you've been
yeah,
to
I missed
quite a
the
few.
first three.
But you
So
but being a member of the photo man, you mentioned the colleagues. I know you've made great friendships with lots of people from over the years, and
mhm,
that sense of community and things like that.
right. And I think that's I think, the training is great. The resources are great, but having someone that you can call up and go, why the heck is my camera scanning rig doing this weird thing? It's never done this before. Or I'm so frustrated with this client, they're doing this. Just having people that that do the same thing as you do, that live in the same world as you do, and being able to call on them for any reason. I'm doing a mastermind right now with several other TPM members, and it's so nice to have this small group where, and I say this like we've been doing it forever. We've done it for 1 month, but we can get together. We each have our own time to talk. We can collaborate. We can give suggestions, and since we do have such a small niche industry, to have people who know what you're talking about is golden.
Yeah, your people. You've got your
Your
people
people.
who get
Yeah.
as excited as you do about making somebody cry or making a photo book for a.
Exactly. Somebody else that can get just as excited as you do when you find a new piece of software that does exactly what you want it to do. There
Yeah,
your
right.
husband goes, okay. you know.
Well, this has been wonderful, Andy. So I think I noticed we've gotten some questions that have come up, but so
Okay.
Isabel, you gonna read some of these off for us and stuff?
Yeah,
But,
so the first one is from Sarah saying she's glad that you were able to work with clients in other states and countries. Sarah wants to join the photo managers, but her question is about working in different countries and how. She lives in Brazil, but may go to Peru and is also a Turkish citizen. So right there, has 3 countries. How would she go about that? Is it possible, in your opinion, to work from different locations in the world?
I mean, I would say yes. I mean, you have to find out what the business ramifications are of everything. You know, talk to, I guess, equivalent of a CPA, a lawyer, I don't know. But in your location. But I mean, a lot of my people are digital, and so I can download their stuff into my system here in Virginia. People that live other places, they mail me things. I've had people send me their entire collections. I had a person a couple weeks ago send me 67 CDs and DVDs to rip, So you don't have to be in the same location. If you want to do print stuff, it does get a little bit more tricky just because there's a shipping involved. But I know quite a few of our members who work with clients all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Caroline Günther is one of our members she calls herself now like a digital nomad, I think, or
Right. And she travels all the time.
Oh,
and then
like
I know like Casey Von Stein, Miss Freddie, she is working with people, like I think yesterday she posted something. She had 5 screen shares going with people all over the country and in Canada, So with the digital tools we have today make it possible for us to work with people who are not right next door.
And also the ability to have multi-languages. Right now, we have quite a few members in the US, Canada, and we have a growing group in Europe. They had our second meetup in Amsterdam a month ago, where we had 28 members from different countries came. And next year they'll be in Switzerland. And our Australian group is also doing something similar because it's expensive for them to come to the US for the conferences. But I think South America to Brazil, we know that those are big markets that we have a few members in Brazil. They're kind of lonely. And so there's a huge opportunity there. It's just a matter of the right people helping us, you'll kind of be you'll be like what Andi was 15 years ago in the US as a real pioneer. Now, anybody joining the US, you're less have that feeling, but certainly in those early days, there weren't very many of us doing this work. And, so yeah, we'd love to have you join us, Sarah. Hopefully that helped answer your questions. Any other questions? Anybody else have any other questions for Andi about her business or joining the photo managers? Quiet chat group today. All right, I think looks like we don't have any more questions. Well, you can, like Isabel said, learn more about Andi and I definitely follow her on social media. Like she does an amazing job. She's been doing it a long time. You can learn a lot as well, just in how she shares information and she'll share good information about how to get working on your own photos and things. Well, Andi, thanks so much. I'm thrilled to have had you join us today and shared your insight with us. Enjoy your weekend away. And
thank you, Cathi.
And welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where you belong. Okay.
Yep. Not moving again. This is home. I'm here forever.
That's it. You're home. Good for you. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.